Hello, I'm Dr. Frances Pitsillis. You thought watching as much TV as you wanted to and being in front of the computer for as long as you wanted to was okay as long as you got plenty of exercise. Well, research has shown that that's wrong. We're all familiar with the positive benefits of exercise and the continual urgings for us to do lots of it. But there have been some interesting studies that have suggested that if you do too much sitting around, you're still getting into trouble. Sedentary behavior is excessive sitting. Examples of this are watching TV and playing or working on the computer. It can take up to 55% of the waking day in some cases. In particular, television viewing time has been reported as the most widespread leisure time sedentary behaviour of adults. Scientific evidence is accumulating for bad associations between TV time and several health risks, including heart disease, stroke, metabolic syndrome, which leads to diabetes and obesity, and some cancers. These associations seem to be independent of physical activity, and the bad effects of increased television time has actually been observed in physically active people. A study published in 2011 in the International Journal of Epidemiology found that for every extra hour of watching TV per day, there was an increased risk of all causes of mortality by 4% and of heart problems by 7%. In this study, they followed nearly 14,000 men and women over a period of 9.5 years. Although the cancer statistics were not affected, they found that the results were independent of smoking, alcohol, medications, and any history of heart problems, diabetes, cancer, or body mass index. These findings were independent of how much exercise was done. Another study in June 2011, the results of the National Institutes of Health, AARP, Diet and Health Study results were presented, and they followed around 240,000 people aged 50 to 71 who were free of cancer, heart disease or lung diseases, and they followed these people for 8.5 years. When they compared people who watched less than an hour of television per day to those watching 7 hours or more a day, they found that the higher TV viewing group had significantly increased risk of mortality of 61%. The higher viewing group also had an increase, 85% increase, of heart disease or stroke and a 22% increased risk of cancer. The researchers found that even when adults reported 4 to 7 hours a week of moderate to vigorous activity but had 5 or 6 hours of TV viewing per day, they still had an increased risk of 50% of all causes of mortality. They also had double the risk of heart disease and stroke mortality, and that's quite significant. In another study published January 2012 in the European Heart Journal, the researchers stated that inactivity is a universal risk factor and that owning a TV and a car increases the risk of heart attack. They looked at 29,000 people over 52 countries in Asia, Europe, and in the Middle East, Africa, Australia, North and South America, and they called it the Inter-Heart Study. They found that mild to moderate physical activity at work and physical activity during leisure time reduces heart attack risk independent of any other factors. So these findings applied to most regions of the world in all the different income groups. If adults undertook very vigorous activity, there was no benefit, and the researchers don't have a reason for that yet. I would speculate that extremely vigorous activity could place excessive stress on the body. I think it's clear from these studies that the message is that regular physical exercise will not protect you if you do too much sitting around watching TV or sitting at the computer. Whether it be at work or at home, you need to remain active.